Welcome to the Lessons from Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Brian Beckcom. My next guest is a fourth stripe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and one of the most impressive people I have met in the last 20 years. I'm talking about Professor Ulpiano Malachias. Ulpiano, or as people who know him call him sometimes Piano, you can find him on social media, Ulpiano Jiu-Jitsu, was born in Belo Horizonte, Brazil in 1979 and has been involved as an athlete and martial artist basically for his entire life. He began competing in judo at the age of 4, did that for 10 years, and then he was introduced at the age of 17 to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by his friend Eric Wanderley, who's now a 4th degree black belt. While living in Brazil, Ulpiano trained with the team Gracie Barra under Ulpiano Malachias, who's now a 5th degree black belt out of Webster, Texas. Ulpiano won many competitions during his competitive career, including the Asian champion, the American national champion in his weight division, the American national champion in the open black belt division. He won Nogi bronze medal in the black belt division, European bronze medal, European silver medal, Houston Open champion, Houston Open silver medalist, and I could go on and on. But in any event, Ulpiano shifted years ago and put his focus more on teaching jiu-jitsu. And he originally started out as the first Gracie Barra franchisee ever in the United States and opened a studio in Santa Ana, California, which ended up being very successful. And then he decided, with some input from Carlos Gracie and his father-in-law, to move to Houston, Texas. And he opened a jiu-jitsu studio, Gracie Barra franchise in Houston, Texas, 10 years ago, that has now become one of the most popular and best jiu-jitsu studios by any measure in the United States, or anywhere really for that matter. I first met Ulpiano in February of 2020 when I started training at his studio, and I've gotten to know him over the last year and a half, and he's one of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life. He is obviously a great martial artist, but he's also a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal businessman, a phenomenal marketer, and just an all-around good person. And so I really can't say enough good things about Ulpiano. I think what you're going to find in this podcast, we talk a lot about jiu-jitsu at the beginning, but even if you're not interested in jiu-jitsu or martial arts, there's a lot of life lessons, and we talk a lot about business, marketing, entrepreneurship, and his leadership philosophy. So whether you're into martial arts or not, if you like any of that stuff, this will be a great show for you. And now I give you Piano Jiu-Jitsu, Ulpiano Malachias.
Hey, everybody. Brian Beckcom here, and I have got Ulpiano Malachias. Ulpiano, thanks for coming on the podcast today, man. I tell you what, I got it. Before we get into what I think is going to be an absolutely phenomenal episode, I need to tell you something that I've never told you before, and that's thank you. I want to thank you personally. For who you are and for what you do. And you've had I'm 48 and a half right now, and I've been with you for about a year and a half, and you've had a major positive influence on my life in many ways, large and small. And I haven't told you that, so I want to tell you that. And I know, by the way, that I'm speaking on behalf of thousands of other people who you have influenced positively. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for the positive influence you've had on me and thousands of other people, my friend.
First of all, thank you so much for saying that. It's an honor for me to be part of this podcast. Like where most of the time this podcast is full of well-educated people. And I'm right here, a Brazilian guy that barely speaks English, try to pass my experience to you, so I appreciate your time. And I'm happy that Jiu-Jitsu was able to, change your life in the way that we do things, because I'm just authentic, and I think those days people miss the authenticity. And I think it's something that we have in our place, our school. And then that's what, we keep real, for good or for bad, but we keep real. And I think people like it because those days it's hard to find.
Well, for sure, Ulpiano. And by the way, you're being super modest right now. You're just as smart. And let me tell you this too, and I mean this in all sincerity. I've had 40 guests on the show, including United States congressmen, military generals, combat Marines, best-selling authors, my father, who is one of my personal heroes, and you, my friend, are at the top of the list when it comes to leadership. So you say you're not that smart, but you're really, really smart. The thing is, you're just modest. But I'll tell you what's really cool to me. So you and I talked about this podcast about 6 months ago. When I first talked about getting you on the podcast, Ulpiano, my main thought was we would talk about jiu-jitsu mainly. And I have since I've gotten to know you a little bit better, and I've done some reading and research, and you and I have interacted quite a bit. I've learned that you're far more than a jiu-jitsu instructor. I mean, you're a businessman, you're a marketer, you're an entrepreneur, and you're a leader. And so what I want to do in this podcast, Ulpiano, if it's okay with you, is I would like to start out by talking about who you are, where you came from, and your career in jiu-jitsu. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the stuff as far as running a business, because I don't know if you know this, but you and I started our business. I found this out last night in the exact same year. I started my business in 2003, and so did you. And your business has been wildly, wildly successful. And so I want to talk about some of your thoughts on business, because I think you have a lot of really good thoughts on business. And then finally, I want to talk about leadership, because you truly are the tip of the spear when it comes to leadership. So let's talk about, first of all, jiu-jitsu. There will be a lot of people listening to this podcast right now, Ulpiano, who know exactly who you are. They'll know about your jiu-jitsu career, but there will be a lot of people that don't. And so tell us your story. Like, where were you born? How did you get to the United States? How did you get into jiu-jitsu? Things like that.
Yeah, so I'm from Brazil. I was born and raised in a city called Belo Horizonte, which is the capital of Minas Gerais, one of the strongest states in Brazil, you know. And I came from a middle class. My dad was a dentist, you know. My mom was a stay-home mom with 3 kids, you know. So my whole life I went to a private school, and at a young age in Brazil, your parents always try to find a sport for you to play. You know, it's a little different than America, because America actually the initiative is at the school. You know, most of the schools they provide the sport environment, and then your parents just wave with. In Brazil, it's not. So your parents have to sign you up for some kind of sport outside of a school, because even the schedule is different. You know, in Brazil, you get in to the first class if you have two turns. You can be a student in the morning or a student of the evening. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Usually, if you go to school in the morning, your class is from 7:15 to 12. You know, lunchtime. So at this time, you know, you go back home to do your homework, and you spend the rest of the day at home. So the parents, they go crazy, you know. They try to find a soccer. And when I was a kid, jiu-jitsu was not a big sport in Brazil.
Yeah.
As much as the Brazilian jiu-jitsu was not something that was organized as today, classes for kids, you know. And so my mom.
And what is this? Is this like the early 80s, like the 1980s, roughly? We're talking about mid 80s.
I'm old, you know. I'm from 1979.
Hey, don't tell me you're old. I'm older than you are.
I'm from 1979. So let's say in 84 or 85, you know, my mom said that I was full of energy.
Yeah.
And she put me to train judo in a school by my house. So I have an older brother that actually trained judo as well. So we both training. And at that time, I have no idea about jiu-jitsu. It was just judo. So I got really into the sport. And then I was traveling, competing since I was a kid for judo. I compete the whole state. I compete, you know, some other states in Brazil. My mom take me, you know. So I was fortunate to come from middle class. So I was not struggling to travel. My mom and my dad, they always supporting with this, you know. And I think it was when I was 16 or 15, I got a hepatitis. The one that you have liver problems, that you have to stay home. I couldn't do any exercise or go to school for a while. and I have to stop to train judo. So I think I take a break like 6 months, 8 months. And one of my good friends, his name is Eric Vanderlei. He was the time a world champion jiu-jitsu, you know, the toughest guy in my city. And he actually lived across the street from my aunt. So when I decided to go back, I said, no, I'm going to try use my judo skills against this guy because he probably is not that good. So I went there, they kicked my butt. They screw judo, man. I'm going to do jiu-jitsu. So, and then I started training jiu-jitsu with this guy because this guy was like one of the biggest names on the world. He was like world champion in every belt. He was world champion in the black belt. You know, he was the Roger Gracie of my city at the time. You know, he was the beast.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my aunt lives across the street from his house, so he helped me. He didn't even charge me. He let me train for free. And
Nice.
I started to train, and then at that time was not with any intention to become my job. Nothing. It was just like a group of friends that like to fight, that like to compete, and like to test themselves.
Yeah.
So we did this, and at that point, I was not going to the main school, which was Draculino, my professor that lives actually in Houston as well. So, but Eric was a student from Draculino, you know. So Draculino was just the top guy. So I was not the top guy, so I was Eric, you know, and he's my friend.
Yeah.
So the time was moving, and then I moved up on the belts, and I moved to another city called Vitoria, because I was going to university. I was going to college, actually, you know. And I moved to another state, and I started training another guy that was from a different team. You know, his name is Bruno de Paula, and he's still friends to today. So I went to Bruno de Paula, and then later on, I have opportunity to move to Finland. You know, to cover a friend of mine to teach jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
At that time, was not idea to become my job. Was an opportunity to go make some dollars and come back.
Yeah.
So I went to Helsinki for a while without English, no very good English or anything, and then I come back. So at that time, I remember one of my best friends, he decided to move to America because he wants to fight at UFC or something like this.
Yeah.
And then he said, let's move. And then I remember.
Can I not to interrupt you, Ulpiano, but can I ask you a question about the UFC right now? Because I remember when I was my brother and I have been into boxing forever. Especially my brother, he boxed a lot. But I remember the first UFC, we had to buy the VHS tape and we bought it. And of course, Hoist Gracie just, oh my God, we could not believe what we were watching. So what was, when you were thinking about moving to America, the UFC had already began?
Yes. It's coincidental. I think, you know, now that you say about Hoist Gracie and I try to put things together, for some reason, jiu-jitsu wasn't my destiny since the back of the time. I just never realized, you know?
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, okay, me and this guy, actually, they moved to the United States. We have a good friend that we actually call a cousin because we're so close together. We spend time together. He lives on my house. So his brother plays in a band called Sepultura. Okay. So this band become a very famous band in America. It's a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
So I used to say to people, oh, my cousin plays in a Sepultura because I was very close to the guy. And they make a video. And the video that they make was actually the first video with the Gracie family about the UFC.
Really? Wow. Nice.
Yes. And
nice.
When he comes to Brazil, he brings to my friend the Gracie jacket. Said, oh, shit, you know, Gracie. So I have the idea of the UFC since that time. I said, damn it, this guy have the Gracie jacket, bro.
I still remember when the Gracies would come in and there would be a long line of Gracies and they hold each other.
I'm gonna send you the video. You know, this video is very this band was as big as Metallica, you know.
Yeah.
Called Sepultura, they still play. And they did this video. And when I moved, my friend, this guy called Nadu, he was a Kung Fu instructor.
Yeah.
And he's the one who actually teach me some stand-up, and I teach him some jiu-jitsu. We kind of cross-training at home,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then we say, let's go fight UFC or maybe fight whatever. We can make some money in America. So he moves first. I remember 6 months after he moved, September 11 came.
Oh man.
So they closed all consulates.
Yeah.
I call him and say, man, dream is over. Can get the visa. They won't let me in.
Yeah.
But end up that things get better. And I move and I stay with him for a couple of weeks. And
this
he
is in
ended up
California?
yes, Hollywood.
Yeah.
I moved directly to Hollywood.
You went straight to Hollywood.
Yeah, head straight to Hollywood
Yeah.
by the
nice.
Chinese theater. I
Nice.
live on a street called Yucca Street.
Nice.
So he has one bedroom apartment, and we always sleep at me, him, and his wife. You know, we put like a sheet, you know, the bed sheet separate the room.
Yeah.
So I have half, he have half.
Yeah, sure.
And we end up like have nothing to do with the UFC, but like I say, jiu-jitsu was on my destiny. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So what happened is he got a job as a delivery pizza, and he told me, hey, you gotta walk and try to find a job. You're gonna see places that say help you wanted. Just apply for the job.
Yeah.
That's how it works in America. You know, and I start to walk, you know, on car washes, everything to get a job, because what I want is to get a job where I can work little hours, train, and try to be UFC fighter, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So I got finally a job after 2 weeks looking. I got a job in a place called Zabumba. It was a bar on Venice Boulevard.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, you know? So coincidentally, the bartender was Horion's daughter, which is
Nice.
Royce Gracie's brother.
And that's Horion Gracie. Yeah.
Horion Gracie, the creator of the UFC.
Wow.
That's why I say jiu-jitsu was my destiny.
Destiny. Yeah, for sure.
I was working as a bartender without speaking English, you know, but the lady said, I can give you a job if you come work on a tank top because you have a nice body. You're going to, you know, make people come right here.
Yeah.
So this girl, Hiani Gracie, she came to me one day, say, my uncle, he looked for training partners because he's going to fight against a guy named Akebono. You want me to bring you one day? He can try you out to see if he likes you. If he likes you, he might, you know, let you train with him.
Yeah.
I say, what? You're going to bring me to Royce Gracie? Of course I will. So actually, I went to Royce Gracie's house.
Nice.
And then I trained, and then he liked it, and he kind of hired me. And I was Royce Gracie's training partner for years.
Nice.
Everywhere that he goes to Japan for all his fights, he takes me with him.
I think what a lot of people don't know about Royce Gracie is, and the Gracie family, is when he fought in that first UFC, he was actually not the family champion. They had Hickson. Hickson was in the background, and so I think if the plan was if Royce didn't win, then they were going to send the family champion in.
No, the plan was not this. The plan was Hickson. Everybody knows he's strong. You know, we want to prove that this thing works. We're going to take the skinny one.
Yeah. Because Hickson's big and strong and muscular, and the Royce was 170 pounds, maybe something like that.
That's why they say Royce, because you know they say this skinny guy, he will beat everybody, and he did.
Yeah.
He shocked the world. So I was, like I say, lucky enough to be on the right place on the right time without planning anything, and I end up with the God, with Royce Gracie.
Yep.
You know, and everything starts right there. And then he took me, you know, to Japan, to all these places to go with him for his fights, to train. And I learned a lot of self-defense, a lot of things that the sport jiu-jitsu, sometimes some places, they take away.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember in 2005, I think, 2006 or something like this, Master Carlos moved to America.
And this is Master Carlos Gracie, who was, at the time, he was the head of the family.
No, Master Carlos was because the family is Helio on one side and Carlos Gracie is on the other side.
Gotcha.
So Carlos Gracie, he teaches Helio, and Helio teaches his kids, which is Hickson, Royce Gracie, Horion, Euler Gracie, Poker Gracie. It's a bunch of champions.
Gotcha.
Carlos Gracie, he have his kids as well, which was Carlos Gracie Jr., the youngest kid, but they have like Robson Gracie, they have Carlos Gracie, they have a bunch of other Gracies that came from Helio. They have a bunch of kids, you know.
Yeah.
And Helio Gracie of the family, they went more to the MMA.
Yeah.
The other side of the family, they stick more with the Jiu-Jitsu.
Gotcha.
So Master Carlos Gracie Jr. is from the side of Carlos Gracie,
Gotcha.
which was actually the creator of the sport.
Gotcha. So Carlos moves over to California. About what year is this, Ulpiano?
I think it was 2005 to 2006.
Okay.
And when he moves, because I was a Gracie Barra guy, my French trainer Gracie Barra, and actually with Royce Gracie was more focused on his career as an MMA, and I was training more MMA.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was not even into to the MMA thing anymore because fights was always overseas. UFC was one every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back and focus on my jiu-jitsu again. Because I was a brown belt at the time, I said I want to become a black belt under Master Carlos. So he opened a school in Lake Forest, and I started training over there every day. And then in 2006, I got my black belt. And he came with the idea you should open your own jiu-jitsu school because you're good, you've been working as a bouncer, all these jobs, so you should believe in yourself. And then I opened a school in Santa Ana.
Santa Ana, California?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was training a lot. Then I met a lot of MMA guys like Babalu Sobral, Mark Munoz, a lot of guys that was coming to California because California became the mecca of MMA, Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
And I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of people. Then I did some professional MMA fights, you know, but get to a point that UFC, even the other MMAs, was never something very rewardable financially.
Yeah.
Even today is not that much.
I was about to say, even today, it's not as probably as much as it should be.
Yeah, but today, you make enough to at least live a couple of months. Before,
Sure.
like I fight at that time, one of the big show that they have compared to the UFC, usually people that do well, like Diego Sanchez, bunch of other guys,
Yeah.
they fight the king of the cage. That was the tournament.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
So I fight for $450.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't even pay your rent.
Yeah.
So the focus of fighting MMA for me was dying because I say I can't. I have to have a job training. I'm not going to be as good as I want to be if I do this.
Yeah.
And like I say, sometimes I look back and I regret because I couldn't be focused and fight MMA, maybe make it to the UFC. But sometimes I look people that make the UFC and I look them today, they're 100 steps behind me,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes in life you have to make a choice. So that's the choice that I make. Master Carlos told me to open a school, and then I opened a school, and I was focused more to become actually a teacher, jiu-jitsu competitor than actually.
I want to pause there real quick because I want to flag something that you said that I think is super important. And I think it relates to leadership in general. And that is, at the time you regretted the fact that you couldn't do MMA, but when you look back on your life now, I mean, clearly you've been so wildly successful that maybe it was a better thing that you didn't get what you want. And, there's been a couple times, Ulpiano, in my life where I really, really wanted something. There was a lawyer job before I started my own firm that I really, really wanted badly, and I didn't get it. And I was really upset that I didn't get it. And now I look back 20 years later, I got my own firm with great parts. The best thing that ever happened to me, not getting that job. So isn't it funny how sometimes the things that we really want, especially when we're younger, the things that we really think that we want turn out not to be what we really want?
Yeah, like when I say sometimes I regret, not because the outcome that I have in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say that regret as a personal realization that I see people that I know I'm better than the person.
Yeah.
That makes the UFC, and I couldn't make it because
Yeah.
I just want to, at the time,
Yeah.
like sometimes I think like I couldn't have this on my legacy, but I did it, But again, it's not a regret that kills me or anything. It's sometimes I just think I say, man, I couldn't do different. But like I say, in the same time that I believe that jiu-jitsu was my destiny.
Yeah.
For a long time, and I not have any regrets. It's just like sometimes you think as an athlete, you want to accomplish something
Sure.
that I couldn't accomplish it. Then I think was just because not that I don't believe in myself, but I see out another ways to succeed.
Yeah.
And I just, pass. I have friends, like, I'm going to give you an example, Romulo Barral. He couldn't make it with the UFC if you want.
Yeah.
And we talk about this, and he chooses to don't do it. He did some MMA fights like I did, the small shows, but he chose to not do it because he said, this choice was a better choice. He became a legend on Jiu-Jitsu, successful, so I don't have a regret. It's just, I think I make the right choice, and, life sometimes takes you a different direction.
Yep.
And you just have to be grateful,
So you're in Santa Ana, you fight maybe a couple MMA fights and they don't pay you any money at all. And you start realizing I need to figure out something to do to make some money for me and my family. And so what happens with your life next, Ulpiano?
2007, I was single. Like I have a girlfriend,
yeah,
which is my wife today, but we're not married, we don't have kids, and I have to say this, I was living a good life because, like I was driving a Mercedes, I live in Orange County.
Yeah, nice.
I travel all over the world, but I have no savings. I have no future. I was just living the moment because I was young with no obligations. Okay. In 2010, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant. And I said, well, now things start to get serious, And I say to her,
she got pregnant. She got pregnant. You act like you didn't have anything to do with that.
No, when I say she got pregnant, this was not planned. And then she broke the news, I'm pregnant. I said, now, we have to do this. And
nice.
Her family, it's a very successful people. They're lawyers. They, they are well educated.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was just my wife with incomplete college, not married, and pregnant. So it's all the wrong things that for a correct family, successful family preacher don't do it that she was doing.
Yeah.
And I have to, to explain to her dad what's my plans. Because he say, what are your plans?
Yeah. Yeah, what are you going to do with my daughter, right? What are you going to do with
So at that time, it was a very common, I think even today, you find an investor, the Brazilian guys, they find an investor that put the money, you do the work, and then you're partners. 50, 40, whatever percentage you agree. I say, listen, I have a bunch of students that want to invest money with me. Because they know, because I have this little school in Santa Ana, very little.
Yeah.
The busiest one, 200 something students. Busy.
Wow. And by the way, you didn't you have the very first Gracie Barra franchise in the United States?
Yes, actually it was the first franchise.
Yeah.
Because I was with Master Carlos when he moved to America.
Yeah.
So I was teaching in the headquarters for free. Okay. I was helping them. And then they developed the system, they developed the franchise system. And I was fortunate enough to learn from the source.
Nice.
All the trials, everything that I did, I was there.
Nice.
With some other professors.
Yeah.
And so my plan was, I'm going to find an investor, open a school and see what I'm going to do. So I have a meeting with Master Carlos.
Is this the meeting at Whole Foods where he made you buy the drinks?
Whole Foods. So Master Carlos, he always asks for juice. They have a bunch of vegetables. All the juice is like this, but cost like $30,
Yeah.
So I went through a lunch with him thinking I'm going to ask him for the money. He's going to give me some money. I'm going to go home, tell my girlfriend everything is done.
Yeah.
So I went there. I paid for the juice. I overdrafted my account because I don't even have the money at the time. And in the end, he said, I don't want to be your partner.
Really?
I said, why? You don't trust me? He said, no, I don't need partner right now.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And then he said,
were you like, you could have told me that before I bought you this $30 juice.
Yeah, but I was really thinking that he's going to sign the check and say, here's the check.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he say, no. He said, why? If it's any other place in life that I will live besides Orange County, would be Houston.
Really?
Houston's good.
Wow. Nice.
I really like Houston. So why instead that you open a school right here in Orange County, why you don't move to Houston? But coincidentally, my wife's dad, he worked for Homeland Security, you know.
Yeah.
He was a special agent in charge.
Yeah.
So he was about to retire. He lives in Houston. So they also, you know, push us to move to Houston.
Yeah.
So it can be around the family. So I went home and tell my wife, listen, no money, no nothing. So I just spent the juice overdrafting. What the hell? You say he would do it?
Yeah.
Then we're gonna figure it out. So Sophia, my wife, dad came in town, and we have a meal. We have like a dinner and everything.
Yeah.
And he said, "What do you think about it? How much you need? How much the investor put to open a school?"
Yeah.
I say X amount. He say, "What do you think about it? Maybe Sophia, because at the time I was not married. Okay,
Yeah.
she be your investor, and you work and you guys keep the money for you guys."
Yeah.
I said, "Whoa, that's a light to me, you know.
Yeah.
It's a light for us." So I said, "Listen, okay, but we need to move to Houston." My wife agreed. We can move, but I need you guys to help to find a nice location because I don't know the city.
Yeah.
So I don't know where should we go. So they did all the demographics and everything, and they find a place in West Timer, which was our first school.
Yeah.
So they helping me to negotiate the lease. They oversee the whole construction, and when it was 1 month to be open, I drove with Sophia. At that time, my daughter, 2010, was already born, and then we moved to Houston.
Nice.
With the little school, 2,800 square feet, without friends in Houston, just my father-in-law and my mother-in-law.
So you didn't know
wife and
anybody.
my
You didn't know anybody in Houston at all, other than your wife's parents. Wow.
No.
I tell you what. Here's another thing we have in common. When I started my law firm, my wife was 8 months pregnant with my first child, and we were buying a house, and I had no money. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. So you get to Houston, and you get this location in Westheimer. Tell us about what it was like to start a jiu-jitsu. Was there any other jiu-jitsu studios in Houston at the time?
Yeah, hold on.
Well,
Things get better.
Okay.
Things get better. Nothing in my life was ever easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1 month out that I'm actually do my grand open, I find out that Helion Gracie, the son and the brother of my teacher, opening a school on the same street of me, 1 mile from me, and he will live there and he will teach. The Gracie will teach.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I say, shit. I'm screwed because I got the money from my father-in-law.
Yeah.
I told him I'm good on this. I proved it to him that I'm good. And now the Gracie going to take everything from me.
Yeah.
And end up that, you know, he closed his school. Not, you know, and then I started business.
Yeah. Wow. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, it was like people might have, you know, better name and maybe they have a better titles than me.
Yeah.
But the work effort.
Yeah.
And the desire to succeed, it's hard to find someone that has the same drive that I have.
Yeah. I love that about you. I could tell that from you. Literally, the very first class I went, I was like, this guy has something. Like it was clear to me. And I've been around a lot of super successful, driven people, but it was clear to me from the very first moment I saw you. I was like, this guy. Actually, I'll tell you, the first time I saw you, Ulpiano, this was the thought that went in my head. Holy shit, that is the toughest looking person I've ever seen in my life. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe how tough that guy is.
I don't even have a car flower years, nothing.
I know, but I couldn't believe
I was
how
on a
tough
nice haircut. I was clean. So I looked like a mama's boy.
And I don't know if I told you this, Ulpiano, but here's how I ended up at your studio. I Googled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu near me. And yours was the closest studio. And I didn't know a single person when not nobody. And walked in there just because it happened to be the closest one. And I thank God, like you're saying, it was destiny that you got into jiu-jitsu. I'm like, how lucky am I the best jiu-jitsu studio in the country happened to be about 4 miles from my house. So anyway, you're in Houston, and you're in the Westheimer area. Do you remember? Because I talked to the first student you ever have in Houston. Yeah, I talked to Philip. I talked to him last week for quite a while. Do you remember the story about when he first came to your studio? Yeah.
Yeah, he comes every day across the street from his house and asks, when you guys open?
Yeah.
Because doing construction, I have a table outside that I spend 3 hours every day to try to get customers.
Yeah. Philip said you were literally painting, I think. You were like painting the studio.
I didn't paint because when I did the construction, they paint. I was actually installing the things because when you rent a commercial property, they give you a TI.
Tenant improvement. Yeah, tenant improvement. Yeah.
And everything that they give it to me was they call vanilla box.
Yeah.
So I did everything that they do. They paint for me, but install the mats, install the bleachers, install the pictures, install everything was me and my father-in-law and my wife.
Yeah.
You know, so Philip comes every day. Hey, when you guys gonna open? I say maybe next week.
Yeah.
Next week. So he was my actually very first student. And today he's a black belt.
And he told me, by the way, that when you first opened, that you would teach the classes, and then your students, he said, when you first started out, you didn't have a lot of students, and they were mainly all white belts, of course. And he said they would ask questions after class. You would stay late. You would go Saturday night. You would come up in the morning early. And this is when you have a newborn kid. But he said he said you wouldn't charge for this extra time either. And so Philip said it was clear to me very early on that for Ulpiano, this is, of course, it's a business, but it's more than a business. There's something more. Yeah. And he also told me a story, and I want you to talk about this if you don't mind. He said 4 months after you opened, your students came to you and said, we want to enter a jiu-jitsu tournament. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they all went to jiu-jitsu tournament, yes.
Yeah, and he said you let them do it. You went in there and coached them, and they were totally unexperienced. And they actually did fairly well. And you told them afterwards you had some reservations about it, but you didn't tell them that before you went to the tournament. Do you remember that story?
I remember that. I have a guy named Dean.
Yeah.
Okay. So this guy, Philip and Mike I don't know if you mentioned this, but this guy Dean, at the school on the classes, a girl pulled him to sleep.
Oh God.
This guy signed up for the tournament. I get that. I see. Yeah. How I'm gonna coach this guy? He submit every single one.
Are you serious? Wow.
I'm 100% serious.
Yeah. Okay.
He has a long hair, he's skinny guy.
Yeah.
Mama's boy, total mama's boy.
Yeah.
Goes right there and submit every single one.
Wow.
You know, it's just jiu-jitsu, something that it's just surprised me every day.
Yeah, for sure. So you opened, what year was it that you opened your
2010.
first? 2010.
Actually, the end of December of 2010.
And how big was
2,800 square feet.
Okay. And
I was the one that teach every single class.
Yeah.
My wife was the servando. My wife was the program director.
Yeah.
And the cleaner. So we did everything, and we have classes almost the same amount of classes we have today. Since day one, I have a lot of classes. Yes.
How many higher ranked belts did you have when you first opened your studio?
None. The first, I don't know if you remember at the seminar.
Yeah.
That we have at the Pedro got the belt. I introduced one guy. His name is Danny. He was there.
Yeah.
So he actually was I'm not going to say second, but one of the few first students. I don't know exactly the number. I remember Philip because he was the number one. Yeah. It was from the same week he signed up, and he was already blue belt.
Wow.
And he's still blue belt. He moves to another state. Yeah. Now he just actually got his purple belt not too long ago. But I just say he was my first higher belt. But one thing that I did since day one, I should train with everybody.
Yeah.
Every day with everybody. I still do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've seen you do that. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. How many black belts, 10 years, you just celebrated the 10-year anniversary. How many black belts do you have now?
40 plus.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. So you opened the studio in 2010 over in the Westheimer area, Houston, and tell us just kind of how the studio has developed over the years and what you've done to turn it into such a wild success.
I was in California, which was the mecca of jiu-jitsu, still to today, is very strong, you know.
Yeah.
And I bring something to Houston that people haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Which was the Gracie Barra system.
Yeah.
Okay. And was something that in the beginning everybody criticized, because how you're going to teach someone the whole entire life that, you know, if you want to do jiu-jitsu, you have to compete, you have to be, you know, be able to come right here every day and give your life, give everything that you have. How you teach this to people to switch to something that I opened, which was instructor.
Yeah.
So we have times to start the class, we have time to finish the class. We have separation by beginners, intermediate, and advanced. So what's something, and also you have the uniform.
Yeah.
So at that time, people would say, oh, Gracie Barra now is the McDonald's, McDojo, because they give you a paper, the instructor reads and teach. Yeah. But actually, it's like, imagine you take a bunch of cavemen,
yeah,
and you put inside the Apple store.
Yeah.
They're not going to take the iPad and use the iPad. They're going to break the iPad.
Yeah, yeah.
Say, this is, you know, when you go to somebody that is old, they say, this damn technology. But actually, technology, when you understand, makes your life easier.
Yeah.
So when I move, I offer something that the other ones don't offer, which was shower on a jiu-jitsu school. That was something new.
Yeah.
I have a laundry service. I have a towel service. And I have a loaner geese.
You have a makeup area for the ladies in the ladies' locker room.
Now, but before I don't.
Yeah.
But I have all these things that my competitors don't offer. The only thing that they have, that I have, was jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
All the other ones they don't have. So I think this helped me to have people on my door that was not the people that never give a chance to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And at that time, I have a different ways to introduce people to jiu-jitsu. We have a thing called intro class.
Yeah.
If you come before, I'm going to come you one-on-one for 25 minutes. I'm going to teach me personally a class.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do this anymore because we become big, you know.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, that's what makes us different than the others. And for the fact that I was a Brazilian guy with a good reputation on jiu-jitsu, and, you know, I was competing at the time, helps us to grow.
Yeah.
You know.
How many students do you have right now?
750.
Yeah, and I want to remind people, by the way, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Ulpiano, because this is super impressive to me. You have 750 plus students, and this is after a worldwide pandemic, right? And so you've been able to, and as a business owner myself, I've had to navigate through the pandemic. I mean, they shut the courthouses down, no trials. That's tough on a lawyer, but we were like, we're going to figure out a way to get through this. You've done the same. And for you, it's probably even harder because jiu-jitsu it's a contact sport. It involves close contact. And so how are you able as a businessman and a leader to lead your troops, your gym, your people through this incredibly difficult time?
Yeah, when that happens, I remember was March 15th.
Yeah.
The day that they close everything. Okay. So on the week before, all the leaders from Gracie Barra, they was having a meeting to decide if you should close or not.
Yeah.
Even the government sent us to close or not.
Yeah.
And then my father-in-law, he said something that, you know, he said, listen, unless they say to you to close, don't close, because you have the bills.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, if it's really bad, they're going to close.
Yeah.
But I remember 2 days before, we have a meeting, Giacolino, me, Professor Flavio, some other guys, and we actually decide we're gonna close. I'm gonna take the hit, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We can adapt and do the class online, and because people trust on us, this is gonna make us look good. And so before they come to close, we decide to close, and you announce that we close.
Yeah.
Wasn't hard for me because I was thinking now it's over. Because what I do is a contact. You can be close to people, have to be 6 feet. How am I gonna do it?
Yeah.
And I start to think how I'm gonna do it. Then I buy 50 dummies to put in a school. I said,
Yeah.
when they reopen, everybody gonna train on a dummy. And I start to create classes where people couldn't work on from home. And I tried, like at that time, people has no choice. It's not just me, it was closed, it's everything.
Everything.
So
that's right.
People was accepting to stay home.
Yeah.
And then my goal was, what can I do to keep my students interested in Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
And how can I, navigate to this time? I don't know how long it's going to take it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, we was offering free private classes online. It was offering a lot of things that we come up with ideas.
Yeah.
And was kind of working. And I have amazing support of the students. But I decide to send an email, say, if you don't want to get charged, let us know, we're going to close your account.
Yeah.
Because that shows to the student that, as much as it's not just the money, it is what it is, Somebody have to take a hit, that's me. When I make more money, I don't give them back. Now I make less, I have to take the hit. And I think because I was so honest with the students, 50% of students keep the membership. They didn't pause.
I was going to ask you what the numbers were. I can tell you from my perspective, Ulpiano. So I took my first class in February of 2020, and I think it was with Pedro. I took 2 or 3 classes. I remember my first role was with Jake, and he was just absolutely destroying me, even though I outweigh him by 50 pounds, and I was a college athlete. And I'm like, holy crap, I gotta learn how to do this. And then all of a sudden, the studio's closed, the gym is closed, there's no more jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, this sucks. I really want to train, but I was one of those people who took quarantine very seriously. When the government said to stay home, I stayed home. I kept my family home. I listened to what they were saying. But when I did come back, I came back in October. You made such an incredible effort to make people feel safe. Every single class, you would explain to them what was going on. You would explain to them the different, you were buying different sorts of cleaning products and stuff. And I got to tell you, I always felt, from the moment I came back, I always felt very, very secure, very safe in your studio, because I knew that you were personally in there doing whatever you could do to make it as good of experience as possible for everybody.
We offer a service, okay? Besides the fact that jiu-jitsu is like a cult, because my position as a leader, I might be able to convince people to see things that even when they don't see, they say yes, just to make me happy.
Yeah.
So I have to be realistic. And I did my homework, which was research. What can I do to make people feel comfortable?
Yeah.
We reopen in May. Okay? So you missed the class May, June, July, August. For 4 months.
Yep.
People was coming. And at that time, say, how am I going to make people feel safe? First idea, I buy 50 dummies. I spread, I measure, make sure everyone is 5 feet for each one. Yep. I did all the thing. I buy every single spray product that we can clean.
Yeah.
And students was training on the dummies.
Yeah.
When we first opened again, was crazy busy. 2-3 weeks busy. Wow. And then boring, because we're gonna do the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, people don't want to do dummies all the time. They want to roll for real. Yeah.
And then I start to think, my God, now what I gonna do? So I become with the idea, okay, what can I do to people feel safe? At that time, as much as the problem was bad, was not closing everything. It was open, less scale and everything. So I did, okay, you're gonna train with the same person you're not going to change partners. It's a whole week.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So make people feel comfortable. Oh, I know I'm going to train with Brian. I know Brian's doing the quarantine, so it'll be okay.
Yep.
And then times were passing and the people feel comfortable in the school, you know, and we don't have that many cases of active students. We didn't have many cases. And I think, you know, was getting better. And then when it started the vaccine, things completely changed.
And that's still true. And that, you know, that's super interesting to me, Ulpiano. I'm not a doctor or like a scientist in that regard, but it seems to me that at least like when my kids went back to school, and I get an email every single day from the school that tells me, hey, we've had 2 or 3 positive COVID tests, whatever. Whereas we're in a jiu-jitsu gym and we're training hard and we're around people. And as far as I could tell, there really wasn't that big of an issue. I mean, there was no issue really, which I don't know whether that's because it's good to get exercise. I'm sure some of it had to do with the fact that you took so many precautions because you care about your students. Your students generally are they take pretty good care of themselves. But isn't it interesting that there just really wasn't, at least as far as I could observe, any problems?
It's crazy because I did some survey. I sent a survey to all the students. When you planning to come back? What makes you don't want to come back? When you plan to come back? And it's crazy because most of the people that actually take the time off and didn't come back was those who went to get COVID. The ones that was active, was not getting.
It
was maybe 1 or 2 cases.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say that COVID it's not real because you know millions of people all over the world die.
Yeah.
But I really think that this pandemic was just more exposed how weak people are healthy-wise.
Couldn't agree with you more. Agree with you more.
Because I have to say this, okay? I don't know one case. Because by now I know a lot of people. I have a lot of people that I know.
Okay?
Yeah. I don't know one person that actually was healthy, that gets sick at the point you had to be intubated and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody personally.
Yeah.
I know people that say, oh, my aunt, my cousins, but directly a person that I know, I don't.
Yeah.
Why? Because on my cycle, I don't have that many unhealthy people.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell you, you know, what a great observation. I agree with you 110%. And I think what we're starting to see now is things like being in good shape, being active, being outdoors, being in the sun, you know, not sitting around inside. I mean, one of the reasons, frankly, I came back is because I was sitting around for 2 or 3 months in my house and I just started getting out of shape and feeling bad. And I was like, this is no good. I need to get back into the training. But you did a phenomenal job with that, Ulpiano. And the fact that you with a jiu-jitsu studio didn't really lose that many students. I mean, you're still, are you the biggest in Houston, I would assume?
I think yes. I don't, you know, people give me this title, oh, you have the biggest school in the world, you have the big, I don't give myself this title because I don't really pay attention on the other ones. Yeah. Because, you know, I hope everybody's doing well. Just to see it. Yeah. But, you know, we are on the biggest one. Yeah. I'm not going to say are the biggest, but one of the biggest one. I don't know any other one that's big as this.
So, and you've, I want to ask you some general questions about jiu-jitsu, and then I want to start talking about business and leadership a little bit more specifically. But so you started a studio in Houston, but the one we're in right now is not the one you started. It's essentially about 3 times as big, something like that.
So I started in 2010. It was across the street from whatever we located today. Yeah. Was across the street where they have Discount Tire and the Boyer shooting range. Yeah. So I opened the first location. Year and a half after I opened, we have 300 students. Yeah. So it was like people was canceling because they say it doesn't fit me in a class. I come to the class, I have to go because it doesn't have space. Yeah. So at that time, I tried to rent the next door, but they already rent. So I have to rent the next door. So I have two stores and one more, separated by walls.
And how big is the current gym?
10,000 square feet.
10,000, and plus you've got a Muay Thai studio. You've got
now we have
phenomenal facilities. By the way, every single time I walk in, I get to see Arizu, who's been with you for pretty much the whole time, right? Yeah. So when you walk in, and I want to let's talk a little bit about jiu-jitsu in general, because I want to tell you a little bit about my perspective as a 47 and a half year. I'm 48 now, but when I started, I was 47 and a half. And it was something I'd been wanting to try for a long time. I was, like I said, I was a college basketball player and always tried to stay in fairly decent shape. But I got to be honest with you, man. And I also like to think that I'm pretty tough, but I was intimidated when I walked in there. I didn't know anybody. I see you, I see Pedro, I see Bruno, I see Kev, I see all these super, super tough looking guys and girls. And I'm like thinking to myself, am I going to just go in there and just get my ass kicked for 6 or 7 months and just get the shit beat out of me? I mean, I didn't know what to expect. And the bottom line is it's not like that at all. Matter of fact, it's the opposite of that. Like, the people that I train with are some of the best quality, nicest people I have ever met in my life. But talk a little bit, Ulpiano, about what you would tell somebody that doesn't have any experience with jiu-jitsu or martial arts, who might be intimidated by coming into a studio with a bunch of really tough, great athletes, and might be afraid. Like, what kind of advice would you give them about that?
First of all, we are not karate studios, so we don't punch and kick.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a warrior because you're not going to get punched. You're supposed to be, don't leave right here with any bruises or black eyes. Okay?
Yeah.
And like I explained in the beginning, Gracie Barra, Master Carlos, and the people that run Gracie Barra, they kind of develop a system which make jiu-jitsu accessible for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you need? No, get up. So Gracie Barra created a system where it's actually, you don't even do the life training till you know what to do.
Yeah.
The biggest cancellations or give up, it's the people that get hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let you do something that you don't know what to do till you know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a bike on the first day to teach you how to ride a bike. I'm not going to put you, okay, heel down.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on a flat surface, because if you fall, you can put your foot on the ground and don't get hurt,
Yeah.
And what I say is this is a workout. Jiu-jitsu classes today is a workout that you can come, have a great workout with something that is not boring, because sometimes go to the gym, lift weight is boring.
Yeah.
And, and also it's a good place to forget for 1 hour about your problems, because everybody's in a good spirit, everybody's in a good mood, and everybody's willing to help each other.
Yeah.
And as far as the competition, it's something that you can go against your partner 100% without get hurt. You want to take your stress out, you go to jiu-jitsu class, you come home ready to sleep, And it's a different levels, because some people do just as a workout, some people do because they want to compete. Some people want to embrace the lifestyle, which is to eat healthy, because you start to think, to train better tomorrow, I'm going to eat better today.
For sure.
So it's like a gym. Today I'm going to say jiu-jitsu school can be a gym, not all of them, but those ones that have good programs is a facility that you go right there to get in good shape.
Yeah.
And then you learn some skills in self-defense. And if you like of a challenges, it's something that you're gonna find love,
It's an incredible experience for a lot of reasons. I don't know if you know this, but when I first started, I had a bad shoulder injury, and it wasn't from jiu-jitsu. I had it before I came in. I couldn't do one push-up, not one push-up, for 6 months, because my shoulder, my rotator cuff, was all jacked up. But I trained anyway. And the thing that I think maybe I didn't realize, and people that aren't familiar with jiu-jitsu don't realize, is you can work around injuries. I mean, there's a way to train. You don't have to go 110% every single time. If you've got a knee injury or shoulder injury or something, you can ease up a little bit, or you can try to do moves and techniques that maybe don't require the use of your shoulder or whatever. But I think what I'm hearing you say, Ulpiano, is the idea that this is like you go in there and people are punching and kicking each other is just not true. I mean, it really is a great workout and kind of a more of a team building experience. Let me ask you this question. What would you tell, because the other thing that I didn't realize, which I think is super cool, is I walk into these classes and there's like, you have 50 kids that are like 4 years to 8 years old, and they're taking classes and they're having a blast. And then I train with, you have people in your school that are in their, I think Pat's almost 60 years old now. You got people that are in their 50s and 60s. So there really is no age limit to jiu-jitsu. You can pretty much start as young as you want. You can train as long as you want.
What I heard more from people is this: why I didn't find jiu-jitsu 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've said that 100 times since I started. That's my big regret.
I get messages, people say, I wish I find this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's because, again, it's a taboo that people have, that, jiu-jitsu school, you're going to get there, you're going to have cauliflower ears with UFC fight. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's a church. It's like a church.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go right there. It's 1 hour that you go. My job is to make sure that 1 hour that you spend at Westchase is the best hour of your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to my phone, just text message right here. It's a guy that I teach him every week. Okay. So this guy is an executive big time. He just say, unfortunately, my flight get delayed to a mechanic issues. I won't be able to make the class. So he travel every week right here just to get the class and go back home.
Wow.
He don't even live here.
That's absolutely
because he say is the best hour and a half of my week.
Yeah.
He say I count the minute to arrive at your school. He used to live right here. He moves.
Yeah.
But he say I will not stop to train with you. So every Friday he has a class with me. But like I say, it's because it's a therapy for him.
For sure.
And that's how it should be for everybody. Master Carlos is 64 years old, in great shape. You think Master Carlos trained with Pedro? No, he will not.
Yeah.
He will train with the older people.
Yeah.
Just to play, to have, like you're going to play soccer. You're not going to play soccer with the college boys. You can't run like that.
Yeah.
Me, you, with 40 something, you can run.
Yeah.
So, so you have to adapt your needs to have fun on your terms. You're going to play soccer with your own friends, 40, 45.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Well, I was kind of dumb because I had my one of my things I promised myself when I came in is I said, anybody that asked me to roll, I'm not going to say no to anybody. Whoever, I don't care how big, how small, how old, how young. If they ask me, I'll say yes, because I was like, I'm gonna prove myself. But I'll tell you another quick story, Ulpiano. So my best friend in Dallas, he's been my best friend for almost 30 years. His wife is Russian, but she's the biggest American you'll ever meet. He's got a son. And when I started jiu-jitsu, I started calling him up at night after class, and I would be like, man, you have to do this. This is like one of the best things I have done in the last 15 years of my life. You have to give this a shot. And I kept pressing him, and I was pressing my boys, and I was pressing another friend of mine. And now my friend in Dallas, his wife, his son, my other friend in Dallas, and both of my boys are doing jiu-jitsu. And the Russian lady she's totally addicted. She's 47 years old, and she goes 5 times a week now. They train under it's not Carlos Machado, but it's a Machado jiu-jitsu gym, and they just went out and had dinner because their instructor got his 6th stripe on his black belt recently. But they're totally and completely addicted. Let me ask you a couple other questions in general about jiu-jitsu. Are you doing okay on time, Ulpiano?
Yeah,
are you
okay.
good? Okay, good. So who do you think, and I was actually doing some research on this myself last night too, who in your opinion is the best jiu-jitsu competitor ever?
Carlos Gracie.
I thought you'd say that. That basically when I was researching that's what everybody said. Why do you think Roger Gracie was the best ever?
Several reasons. Number one is he submits everybody from the base mount. choked on the mount position.
Yeah.
Number two, he was a complete guy. He knows top, bottom, and he was a guy that actually revolutionary because he won gi, no gi. Like Gordon Ryan today tried to say he's the GOAT of no gi, he's this, he's that. He's a very talented kid that I believe he's gonna be the best of the best. Yes, he maybe will be.
Yeah.
But the differential between him and Roger is that Roger did everything.
Yeah.
Roger fight gi, no gi,
MMA.
UFC.
He even fought MMA. Yeah. And I think he was in the
Everything.
top 15 in MMA when he fought.
The reason, like the UFC, he fight against Tim Kennedy, that they put him in 185, which is not his division.
Yeah.
He's 205. They asked him to fight 185, and he lost for Tim Kennedy, and they cut him.
Yeah.
So it's just because he was a Gracie, he has depression. But like Roger for me is the best ever.
Yeah. Who are some of the up and coming jiu-jitsu stars? Like, who are some of the people that the wider audience in jiu-jitsu may not know about yet, but who do you think is really up and coming and is going to be a big player on the scene in the next few years?
Bruno.
Yep, for sure.
Because Bruno just started. Bruno is 21. Bruno is very young.
Yeah.
And since he moved to America, he started to adapt to the American lifestyle.
Yeah.
So he gained weight. He's strong now.
Yeah.
He's more confident. So I think Bruno would be. Pedro is already reality. The Mendes has some good kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the new generation, I believe they're gonna be really good.
Yeah.
But another Roger Gracie, I think, still takes some time.
Yeah,
I have another kid called Mika Galvão. He's a brown belt. He's really good. They have a bunch of names that they will succeed.
Yeah. And you run, and what I think, one of the things I think is really cool about your gym is you literally have internationally ranked jiu-jitsu superstars that train with you, all the way down to 14-year-old girls that weigh 105 pounds. Like you have NFL linebackers, former NFL linebackers and running backs, guys like Kush, who is, a world just on a different level when it comes to athleticism. And then you have people that are computer scientists that have big Coke bottle glasses and train. So it's kind of the whole gamut. Well, let me ask you one or two more questions about jiu-jitsu, and then I want to talk a little bit about some leadership and business stuff. What do you see as the future for jiu-jitsu over the next 5-10 years or so?
I don't know. Maybe people are gonna say that I'm negative, but I believe the jiu-jitsu business as a school will grow because there's a potential that jiu-jitsu will become an Olympic sport in 2024.
Interesting.
I think was the invite. They have the invitation to be on this, as a trial, because I think every Olympic they can put 2 or 3 new, styles that they want to try. So I believe that this will become big, but if the idea of the sport is to become Olympic sport, it's going to take away the big professional sport.
Yeah.
As Olympic sports are not professional.
Yeah.
If you look at judo, wrestling, boxing, once you have one professional box, you cannot fight in the Olympics.
Yeah.
If they have this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think jiu-jitsu has a bright future. But this idea that something that's happening right now, all these GPs, super fights, that people believe is soon people are going to make $1 million with a fight on jiu-jitsu, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because it's a room to grow, to people make more money, it becomes just an athlete.
Yeah.
But for the fact that jiu-jitsu is not by country, it's by teams.
Yeah.
When it becomes to Olympic sport, so Gracie Barra guy gonna have to train the Atos guy. That tomorrow they're gonna fight on the Grand Prix. So it's, I don't know how.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's a very interesting observation because, like, for people that don't know that are listening to this, if you train at Gracie Barra, you're basically on the Gracie Barra team. It's like a, and I know other jiu-jitsu studios do it like that too. But like I'm a part of the Red Shield now because I train with you. And what you're saying is if it's all of a sudden not about that necessarily, but it's about like what country you live in, then maybe you lose something there. Maybe something
because the training. How are you going to do the training?
Yeah, how will you do the training? Yeah, that's a great observation. Last question.
So you're gonna be like Pedro fighting against Seth.
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. What's the most? Last question about jiu-jitsu. What's the most, in your opinion? What is the most important trait someone needs to have, whether it's a high-level competitor or a stay-at-home mom, to be good at jiu-jitsu?
You really need to help the other ones to improve.
Nice.
Correcting the other ones make you better because not for the action, but when you pay attention and correct the other positions, you learn better, so you won't forget.
Yeah. Well, Ulpiano, let's talk a little bit. If you got a few, do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about you being an entrepreneur and a businessman as well as a leader, because like I said earlier, when we were at the beginning of the podcast, so I walk in the first day, I see you, I'm like, oh my God, that guy looks tough. Like I'm afraid to even look you in the eye because you look so tough. And then we go out there, and before every class that you teach, you normally have some things you say, whether they're announcements or other things. And I remember listening to you in that first class and just thinking, this guy's got it. Like, there's something about you, Ulpiano, that causes people to listen, to pay attention, and to follow you. So what do you think that is about? I mean, you think you were born a leader, or where do those skills come from?
Didn't born a leader. I said on a podcast before, I was not a good example as a leader. Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes to be too authentic can work against you.
Yeah.
So I learned that number one, something that I should don't do it is to listen to the other ones.
But listen to others.
Yeah. The good leader, they always listen.
Yeah.
They analyze and then you reply.
Yeah.
For years, I was just replying on emotion.
Yeah.
You throw a jab at me, I throw a jab back on you. But I realized that, you throw a jab at me, if I'm smart, I'm gonna, wait, and whatever I have a chance, I'm gonna throw you a straight punch and knock you out instead of just throw a jab and waste my energy.
Yeah.
So I think what makes me different than the other ones, I don't think, people always give me their compliment, the compliments that I'm a good leader, I'm this and that. What can, then I say, but one thing that I'm real when it becomes, hey. So when I become too, when it becomes too me personally, I can't don't like you and be in front of you like I like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm real.
Yeah.
I have a problem with you, I'm going to go directly to you and say, Brian, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like example, I have a parent on the school this day. He keep coaching the kids, and he keep being really disrespectful with my employees. With me, he's like treat me like I'm a god. Or the other ones treat them different.
Yeah.
So I put him on the side. I give back his money, $150, the membership.
Nice.
Say, here's your money. I want to give your money back, and I want you to find a new school for your kid. Oh, my kid loves you. Yeah, but you don't love me, or do you don't love your kid? Because you do things inside that's my house, that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't go to your house and I put my foot on the wall and then you do this on my house. I don't go to your house and complain to your wife that she should let me and you do it in my place.
Yeah.
So I don't want you right here. And then that makes him think and ask for a second chance. And he's better, So I don't do just for the money. I think today you have to be a leader where you have your philosophy and you have to follow your philosophy and be clear to the other ones, your philosophy. I'm going to say me and you, okay? Sometimes we have some discrepancies when it comes to ideology of political or something like this.
I love that though. That's one of my favorite things about you, because I'll come home and I'll tell my wife and I'll be like, Ulpiano loves to talk about this stuff.
And I say directly to you.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm going to say behind your back, oh, you know,
yeah,
Brian does this, you know, I just say sometimes doesn't work good, but I'm authentic and that's make people look at me and say, why this is the right thing to do. And I think I inspire people to be like this. And I think the story behind, you know, my beginning, and I think all this, and for the fact that I'm the black belt, helps to people look up to me. You know, it's not that I'm just a good leader, but I'm in a position that I have the attention. And then I try to do the right things to keep that attention for a long time.
What is your fundamental, like if you were to list 2 or 3 things that are fundamental to your leadership philosophy, what do you think they would be?
Number 1, be honest.
Okay.
Number 2, wait for your time.
Okay.
And number 3, only get things that belongs to you. Don't try to take things that belongs to the other one.
Yeah.
Because if it's not yours, you're gonna lose it. You know what I mean?
One is easy to understand, be honest. 2, explain 2 a little bit more. When you say wait for your time, what do you mean by that?
You're a lawyer. You have your firm today.
Yeah.
And then you hire lawyers to work for you because today you have too much work. And then you have to, you know, delegate functions for the other ones so they can do it. Okay? So you hire a guy that just come out of the college and you offered him a salary of whatever, it's X amount of a year. Okay?
Yeah.
And it turned out that after 6 months, he did something amazing that shows that he has a good potential.
Yeah.
He cannot just go to you and say, listen, you see I'm good, you pay me X, I want a double X, or I quit. Because he has that opportunity because of you.
Yeah.
And then if he get greedy, thinking he is the shit, he'll fail.
Yeah.
So my dad used to say, don't put your foot where your leg cannot reach because you're going to fall. Don't try to do a long step because you're going to fall. So wait for your time.
Yeah.
When it's time for you to succeed, you will succeed. You know what I mean? So
you had a really good comment on the business podcast you did, where you talked about when an employee came to you and asked for a raise. Do you remember that story?
Yes, I do.
Talk about that story a little bit, because I love that business philosophy.
Besides the fact that, you know, they work with me, they become friends, jiu-jitsu buddies and everything.
Yeah.
I have to have a position that I'm not just a business, and I'm right here to, you know, to pay the bills, to pay everybody, and to have profit.
Yeah.
And when you do your job that you get paid for, you shouldn't request a raise. The raise you request when you do more than you get paid for.
Yeah.
So my issue with my employer was that he asked for a raise. I say, give me 2 reasons that you deserve. I know he don't deserve. That's why I asked for 2 reasons. I know he don't have.
Yeah.
Because, example, Servando get raises. Servando does all the time. Pedro. Why? Because they go beyond their job.
Yeah.
You know, they go above and beyond. So I said, give me 2 reasons. The 2 reasons that he gave it to me, one is he's an honest person. And the second reason was that he always show up on time. I said, that's the reason you deserve a raise. He said, yes. I say, let me tell you something. If you don't do this 2, you're actually going to lose your job.
Yeah.
That's your obligation. That's the minimum that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you think? So one thing I've noticed about you, Ulpiano, as it relates to being a businessman and also a leader, is you're very detail oriented and you pay a lot of attention to basically everything that goes, like you care about the little details. For example, sometimes you monitor how the staff handles phone calls. You actually are out there, and I see you out there, even though you're the head person, cleaning the mats sometimes. So talk a little bit about your business philosophy, like what you think, because I've got a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are business owners or entrepreneurs. What is it? What do you think the most important 2 or 3 things you do as far as business is concerned to have made this such a successful business?
I'm gonna say this. I'm a truly believer that, we are equal. Even though people have the different idea that we are equal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they use, especially those days, we are equal, but I'm different, Because I see a lot of people say, especially politicians, they say, okay, we hate the wealthy people, the rich people,
Yeah.
the elite people. But those ones that say this actually are the wealthy ones and the richest ones. So for me, it's hypocritical, these things. So I'm not a hypocritical, okay? So I'm a business owner, but at the same time, I'm an employer. And when I'm there working, I'm employer. I'm the professor. I don't have the rights to teach a class, a bad class, because I'm the owner.
Yeah.
Because Pedro going to look at me, I say, bro, you teach your class sitting on the floor, why can I not?
Yeah.
You're a teacher like me. So I try to be an example, like if I do, I'm the owner, I do, you should do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there's a proper way to say, but we all drink the milk from the same cow.
Yeah.
We all suck from the same milk.
Yeah.
So if I don't take care of the cow and the cow doesn't have milk enough for all of us, you're going to lose your job because I'm the owner. I'm the last one to lose the job. Yeah. Everybody's replaceable right there. The only one is not replaceable is me.
Yeah.
I'm not replaceable. Number one, I can do all the jobs. And number two, I'm the owner.
Yeah.
So I try to show them is this. If you take care of this, like this is yours, you're going to have this milk for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you think that I drink the milk and you drink the water, you're not going to succeed.
Doesn't work out well. And you also at 40, what are you, 42 now?
42.
At 42, you train basically every day too with your students. Yeah. 3 times a day. You're trained 3 times a day. Wow. So you're
just like this for a reason. Okay.
Yeah. You're setting the example in every possible way. Well, who are some of your mentors, either in business or in leadership in general? Like, who are some of the people that you look up to, Ulpiano?
I look up to Master Carlos. I look up to Professor Jaculino. Okay. I have another friend of mine, Professor Romulo Barral. So it's like people that I look my whole life doing the right thing. And if one day, I become close to what they are, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
What
are your future goals for your business career and your leadership career? Like in 5 or 10 years or however long you want to say, where do you want to take this thing?
I want to open a second location.
Yeah.
More, not because I want to make more money, because I'm happy. If I keep the way that I'm doing right now for the 10 years, I'm happy.
You're fine. Yeah.
Yes. But, my goal is to open a second location so I can take those ones that have been with me for too long, Servando, Azul, Pedro, maybe Bruno, those ones that be with us for a long time, they become the people that are going to run the business, and then you can have more locations. I want to have, because as now, they're just employers.
Yeah.
They don't have any intake on the business.
Yeah.
But, in the future, I'm going to get old, and I'm going to be able to teach as much as I do. And I'm going to, we'd have the same energy that I have. So my goal is to give them percentage and they can run. So to do this, I have to have second or third location. So
Yeah.
this is down the road. You know, the second location, am I going to do next year or something?
Really, that
We'll
fast?
see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
was to do before COVID, and then I stopped. Now am I
Yeah.
going to put the plans back in order? You know?
I got one more question for you, my friend. When you're 95 years old and you're sitting on your porch and you're looking back on your life, what do you want it to look like?
I want to be remembered, you know, for the things that I did. I don't want to be remembered for the things that I could do it and I don't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to take risks and I like to be perfectionist.
Yeah.
So what I see in a couple of years from now, when I'm 95, but if I make it to the 95, is, you know, see my daughter with, you know, her kids, you know,
Yeah.
my wife, we're all healthy. I don't know if I'm going to make that long. I never planned. But my grandparents, they 94 and they're going to be 95 this year. They still good.
I tell you what, you're so tough. I think death is even afraid of you.
I'm not afraid of that. I
Yeah.
can say this for sure.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think it's that big a deal. But, well, Ulpiano, this has been a huge treat for me. It's a huge honor to have you on the podcast. Like I said at the beginning, I think so highly of you. And let me just say one more thing. There are people in this world who make the world better. Like the world is a better place because certain people are in it. And when I think about you, I think about the fact, among many other things that I like and admire, that this world, this state, the country the United States, Texas, Houston, and our community is better off because Ulpiano Malachias, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Right.
Because you're a part of it. So, my friend, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for what you stand for, and thank you for who you are, my friend.
I appreciate the words. You know, it means a lot to me. You know, you're very well educated, successful, a lawyer, and be able to, you know, inspire people like you. For me, it's an honor. You know, because I look at you as well as, you know, successful guy and try to learn from people that succeed, how I can become a better person every day.
Yeah.
So I can keep passing this, you know, this to the other ones. And again, thank you so much for this. I hope, you know, this can inspire some people to do better and to be real.